Hello, everybody. It's surprise stream time. I'm surprised. So surprising, everything. Surprise, surprise. So turns out I am not gonna have the sound on Twitch while I'm doing this. Turns out I'm not here tomorrow, so I'm cheating and doing the stream today instead, which I didn't really think of until the last possible minute because of reasons. But it doesn't really make all that much of a difference because I'm gonna record this as usual and it's gonna go on YouTube. So whoever's missing out right now, which you won't know until tomorrow, it's all very confusing. You can watch this tomorrow, which will today. Let's not think about that too much. We'll just get into it. You can see someone has found their way into the chat now, at least, so I'm not all alone in here, which is nice. I'm gonna prepare all my windows. Don't need this guy. Now it's nearly ready for you guys to start see what I'm doing. So, we go for this guy. Welcome to the chat room. And as usual, if the sound is broken or if anything, just tell me and I'll do my best to repair it. So we did some stuff last week. Let's take a look at what we did in the past. So today is, what day is today? 22nd. That means that, we did a lot of commits last week. Right, I did some cheating and did some very minor things before the stream started. This is an excellent commit. Don't know. I don't know what I changed. It's just, I don't know, seems to need to be in there. So one of the first things we did is start to clean up the input code because the game still had, originally it was 2 buttons. One button for attaching and detaching from the asteroids and another, like a second button for drilling. And it turned out I didn't really need that. So I just got rid of the drill button and made that be the attach button as well. And the game still had some remainders of that in there. So I started cleaning those up. And then I did the same thing for the joystick or joypad inputs. And then the big thing we did last week was work on, this is probably also, this is just general cleanup of where it creates all the players, like the input management players. So the big thing we did last week was we started messing with the score management. So before, this was a single player game, right? So I had a class called score that kept track of score. And then as I ran out of time for Microjam and I needed to like rein the game in a little bit and just finish it, I added timekeeping to that class as well. So it was keeping track of like the round time and how much score you had amassed. It also did calculating of the actual, like that class figured out how much point any asteroid was worth. But that made less and less sense as I added more and more players. And it became sort of a mess because the score thing was keeping track of the score for every player, but it was a single instance and it was had like a little list and it was all a giant mess, especially since I'm looking to adding teams into the game. So it's not going to be just individual players anymore. It's also going to be teams and I'm going to keep track of that. So that was kind of a mess. So we just tore it all apart and made it so that each player keeps track of their own score. And the players also belong to a team that has that are now managed by a proper class. So the team class knows which players are on any given team, and it can also calculate the score for that team. So the scoring now, when I redid it, is actually not looking at individual players anymore. It's looking at every team instead. Hello, Talo Keto in the chat. Arc Games is in here too. That's nice. But the score displays on the screen are now actually looking at the score for each team. So once we add in so that you can switch teams, that's just going to deal with that automatically. And I suppose if a player, like if we decide to add support for that, if a player switches teams during the game, right now the way it's made is that their score would follow them to the new team, which is maybe weird, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I think the very last thing I did was fix the crowns, which I did the week before. So the game will render a little crown over whoever's in the lead right now. They're still broken because they will. I think I added it in here. Mark the leader somehow. Make the crown only show on the leader, not everyone. So this kind of works, but the way it works is that it sorts the list of teams, and it will. Whichever team ends up first in that list is considered the leader team, but it doesn't deal with draws at all. So if every team has 0 points, it will just be the team that randomly, or not even randomly, the team that happens to be first in the list will be considered the leading team, which is not really true. So I need to check and make sure either, like if everyone's in the same position, no one's in the lead. But if two teams are in the lead, like draw, maybe they should have crowns as well. Maybe should render crowns. I need to deal with that somehow. See if the game runs still. I don't think I've updated anything that should break stuff, but you never know. Well, it's not compiled. That's should be, but it's not. Typically, I remember to press the compile button before I start streaming, but not today. So we're just gonna have to wait for a little bit. It shouldn't take long. Can so do something like that. And we'll bring up that's better. See, here comes the game. Fly around. You can drill. And now, as before, the score meter will show up once you once your player sort of activates, which we probably can redo now because we don't have to. We can know how many players are on any given team. I'm probably just going to fly around here for a little bit, see what it feels like. So I'm not entirely sure. I should probably deal with the leader symbols. That's probably the thing for today. 100,000. I kind of want to add boosting to this every now and then. But I also don't want to make things more complicated. But maybe. It could fit on, still fit on one button. It's interesting too with like keeping the controls simple. At some point it goes from being simple to being like the home button on an iOS device, which does so many things. It's not even simple anymore. It's just a very overloaded single button. Like it would probably have been easier to have a separate button for that. And right now it's like I'm playing it on an Xbox controller. There's buttons aplenty on the controller. But like you can hear it beeping. Like pressing right now would be cool if it went like zoop, like a little skip ahead would be nice. Because it is kind of boring to fly longer distances right now. So there's not much stuff going on. Plus escaping from the black hole would be more interesting as well, I think. Gotta remember to turn it off before the ending sound starts. Oh, it's gonna be close. It's a lot easier when you're by yourself. Almost did it. Strange people outside the window here. So I suppose we'll take a look at the leader stuff. Team collection. Bloop, 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 bloop. So every time something is like a team scores, this function will run. No, this function will run anytime it's team scores. This will sort the ordered list of teams that I have here, and it uses my this custom sorting function here. Basically compares the score. Nothing weird about that. And then it loops over all the teams that it has in the list. I could use ordered here as well, wouldn't matter. And it sets this variable, like is leader on the team, and it checks if this team is the leader. Now I gotta add like a special little thing for this, because so what I need to do is I need to first of all, I think we need to think about how this is going to work. So maybe the best way to do it is maybe no one's in the lead if there's a draw. Maybe that's the reasonable way of doing it, because that will solve when you start the game where no one has a score, that will be no crowns. And then if two teams are tied for the lead, it might make more sense to not show the crown at all. So I suppose we can just check. Var has draw. That defaults to false. Has draw is, this is going to be some tricky stuff here. If ordered length is bigger than 1 and ordered 0, score is equal to ordered 1 score. That means we have a draw. So if we have more than 2 teams, I need to check this, because if I have 0 teams and this runs, this will crash. If I only have 1 team and this bit runs, it will crash. So I need to make sure that this has more than 2 teams already. And I'll just change this to be, if it doesn't have a draw, and this. One second. Don't worry, it's not broken. Just gotta do some. This actually seems to be working just fine. That was easy. Into the thing with you. Wow. Okay, that was Ivan C. Dev. Thanks for following. So, team collection. I suppose this should also reset, maybe? I don't think that's needed, but I don't want to get in any weird situations. So, code for figuring who's in the lead now deals with draw. That's all good. I forgot to tweet this. I'm a really irresponsible streamer. So that's one thing off the to-do list. That's good. Mark the leader somehow. Fixed. Make the crowd only show on the leader, not everyone. That's all excellent stuff. Can I not do that? I can't. Pretty sure I can. Flash develop. Yeah, here we go. So I'm gonna add a new little I'm gonna move this down because I don't think I'm gonna do that ever. As I do with that one, I need to do that, and I need to do that. Maybe one day. And then we can do this. Boop. It's important to keep around the stuff you completed. Just because it feels better. And now you guys can't see what it says in the top corner, but I suppose I'll do this for your benefit. Do. I'm so happy I fixed this bug. I don't miss that one at all. Feels good to be rid of it. That is just, I don't want to deal with that at all. At all. So improve the menu. This is probably what we're going to be up against now. That's going to take some thinking. So this is going to take multiple things, because if I want to do 2 versus 1, right now there's going to be one rather big issue with that, and it's the fact that there is only one shape of on the ships. So if I add a second pink ship, which I can't do right now because I don't have enough controllers hooked up, but it would just look identical, which is kind of an issue. So I suppose I need to think about that a little bit. You're also very, very small, but I think they sort of have to be. Because I want that sense of scale. I think one day we're going to do camera stuff, like some zooming and stuff like that. Maybe add some more screen shake, because there's not quite enough of that. No! I'm caught in the abyss. Okay, so you come up to the game, you grab the controller, you press a button. Right now you just immediately join. Which might be a problem. So I'm thinking these buttons right here could be switch team, and you could just cycle around to pick the team you want, and it will assign you to an empty team. But the thing is, ideally you want to stay, because as far as the game is concerned, this state when the game starts right now is basically the same as it ends up in when that happens, I think. I'm not entirely sure what happens to the player when you do get eaten by the... It doesn't reset your score though, so it can't be that bad. It's funny that I don't remember how that works. Black hole, handle checked. Complete. So it's fade. Is fading true? Where's this? An actor? So when it's fading, it will go smaller and smaller. And then what? Handle fade complete. Does it actually kill the player when it fades out? This is hilarious. It's very amusing to me that I don't know what. Something. So when you get these kinds of errors, it's probably something that's importing something it shouldn't be importing. So if we look at stuff I just committed, can't be that. It's probably not that. I bet it's in here somewhere. Okay, that's unfortunate. Maybe it is in the settings loader. Line 9. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay. I distinctly remember this compiling before. So at some point, I added some import that broke things. There's a lot of stuff going on in the office here today. I'm sorry if that gets caught in the stream. Let's commit this guy and then do some time travel. Let's go here. No. It is also entirely possible that OpenFL is broken. I think I know what's going on. Yes. It's using an old version because I was compiling named capsule before, and that needs an older version of things. And I think this project, because it's updated to support the newer version, will instead break on the older version. So whichever version I have installed is going to be, because that's why it recompiled this morning or when we started. So it runs. So when I go in here, it's going to stop or not because the file changed. So my breakpoint is probably in the wrong spot. Black hole here. Stopped. And I jumped over that function. Excellent, excellent job by me. It's pretty quiet in the chat today. I know you're in here. I can see you. Don't try to hide from me. So this is an asteroid, but it's not that different. Okay, so far so good. For the player. Handle fade complete. This is a very quick fade, but that's fine, I suppose. And then it is actually killed. I don't know how I ended up here. Let's try it again. Right, we don't care about this. So it goes kill, which is that function that would just set it to not alive. Tom 8. Oh. Thanks for following. That stuff's all cool. So in player, it will now be as alive as false. Okay, so this is a problem. We can't do it that way. Because it actually, because now the points are, so before it would destroy that instance when the player went into to the wormhole and got killed, it will destroy that instance, and when you pressed, it would create a new one. Which was fine before, when the score was stored externally, but now it's stored on that object. So whenever I delete it, it will go to 0. And it doesn't really cause any problems or anything because the team is still around. That still exists. It's just that. Okay, go away, breakpoint. So now 120,000, and here's another 120,000. Let's do this one too. So the punishment for going in the black hole is like 100 and 200 something. But when I go in here, it will just go to 100,000. Okay, turns out I was wrong. Let's take a good look at this. So whenever I press, like player activate, so this is a special case. Whenever it adds the first player, that's nothing funky. Then it figures out where you're to the player, how. It's like I programmed this game. I should know how this works, but apparently I don't. And then it figures out the team and everything. So this should not be. We have to go deeper. $71,000 points. Now I get killed, goes down to 0, I spawn again, this is the bit I'm interested in. It definitely creates a new player, creates a new body, because that was the problem before, like we don't want a physics body that stays around messing us up. So we're not terribly interested in the actual creation of the physics body. We are, however, interested in body stuff. Sets the cooldown. I don't know what's doing. I don't know what's doing. It's actually running the constructor, adds itself to the team, creates the laser, creates all that stuff. So, okay. That seems to be working. The question is, why didn't the score reset before? Suppose we can look what the punishment is for like having yourself be eaten by the black hole. Black hole score punish. So it's 500,000 points. I think I know. So if we set this a little bit lower, like 10,000 points, I'm gonna have to collect as many asteroids. I think I know what's going on. I think it's just the meter that's not updating the way it should. It's making it look like it was actually. So this will give me 250,000 points. That's all good. I go into the thing. This will now update to show 240,000, but really it's 0 because I'm dead. So when I put a second asteroid in, say this one, if things were the way they seem to be, this should be 460,000. I think it's going to be 220. Okay, so maybe not. Owner add score. So this is what we care about. So I go in here, breakpoint, this score. This is definitely the player. Right, and it updates the score for the team, which is set to 0, and then it summarizes all the. I think I got something. So it never actually removes players from the team. So what's probably happening is that there's a lot of stuff acting together here. So because I'm adding more players all the time, it's keeping those players on the team, which of course makes no sense. If they're dead, they shouldn't be on the team. So the clear function does what? On remove. So that's probably what we should be using. So player on remove. Here we gotta add some stuff. So we go team, remove this. So the player will have a team. And then we add a public function, remove player. See what that feels like. Oh, it's not compiling. Awesome. So it will remove itself from its team. I suppose just for safety, we can also go team is no. Pick this guy up. I could have actually confirmed that bug instead of just assuming that was the case, but gonna do it the wild and crazy way. So this score. I'll probably remove that breakpoint. Okay, so now, right. Because this player got a score after it was dead, it no longer has a team. I mean, we're gonna have to change it so that the players don't die all the time, but it's a good thing to just deal with these bugs anyway, because there's no harm in actually solving these edge cases before they crop up and make your game break. So that's worth 1,000 points. It's not terribly good. 310,000 points. So if I go in here, it should be 0 now. Well, now it's 0, right? Yeah, because it doesn't update when I die. So now it's really 0, but it's not updated yet. And now it updates when I spawn. So that's good. Now it works the way it should have done all the time. Hello, person in the chat. Kak Swiss Nike. Welcome. Glad to have you here. But now we got to deal with the death issue. So for the player, it will start to fade like this, and once the fading is done, it will run the function called handle fade complete. So in the player, we don't want handle fade complete to actually kill the player. We want it to disable the player until someone presses, and we'll just reactivate them again. The question is if I can disable collisions. should collide. I gotta Google this. I mean, I'm sure it's possible. The question is just if it's... I could do collision filtering. On the fixture definition. Probably something like that, and I don't want to run that. I'm just going to write this function, which is going to be the tricky part. So it seems that you get the fixture definition. You set the filter data to a new box, to the filter data. I'm gonna So this is what I'm looking at. Okay, that highlight is really annoying. Collision filtering allows you to prevent collision between fixtures, something, something, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I think we're just going to try this, see what happens. So far, so good. And the second player. This makes the black hole freak out a little bit, but that's okay. It seemed like it was how about we also turn off the shrinking animation? Do this in one line because why not? So it's still in there and still caught in the black hole. But now if I spawn a second player, we'll see if they can... So they don't collide right now, which is something. If I disable this, they should collide. Which means that little snippet of code is actually doing something. The question, I think, is going to be, how do I enable it again after disabling it? But so they are definitely colliding now. They are still colliding. No, they're not. Okay, that's interesting. So they'll, seems like they'll keep colliding until they're not, or something like that. Let's. What do you get? Fixtures list. I wonder. I wonder what that value is, like the filter data before I set it, if it's null or if it needs to have something in there. We'll trace it and find out. So now you probably can't see my tracing window. So that did have something in there. Suppose we'll take a look at that then. Maybe do it this way instead. You can get a look at it. It's so helpful to have the debugger actually work. So the cut bits, and I'm messing with the masks bits. So this should just be, well, yeah, FFFF. So, go if enable is true, it should be OX and 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's not, it should be, I suppose it could be just 0 as well. That's what we want. So these guys are all colliding just fine. Green guy goes into the wormhole, yellow guy follows him, does not collide with him. It's all good. Just like that. And then maybe is faded. That we can use to like disable the trail rendering, stuff like that. Is that a function? Hey, DJ Munchkin, thanks for following. So trail, redraw segments. What is the trail parented to? I wonder. I think that is in a different container somewhere. So we will do if is faded. We'll do some different things in here. Do this. if it's not visible, then just get out of here. Okay, that didn't work. Is it not visible when it spawns? Or did I just do faded the wrong way around? Maybe I did. So one really annoying thing. Visible is false. Okay, so that's not good. Why is it? That really should not be the case. Oh hey, we got some questions in the chat. I'll get to those in a minute. Is faded for, oh right, I just did it the wrong way around because I'm silly. Here, player trail visible. It's not faded, they should be visible. This logic right here is not perhaps the most elegant thing I programmed ever. I am visible, I go into the thing, and now I'm invisible. But I can still hear the engine running, which is kind of a problem. So if that happens, oops. Just set the engine sound to muted. That's all good. This goes in here. Now it's still round. I can still press this button, but you can't see it. If I go in here, I should be safe because the black hole is still attached to the older player. That's also good. So I'm going to commit this stuff. Stage. Don't need that yet. So this is fixes issue where dead players would remain attached to teams. And well, I'm just going to do these commits too, then we'll get to questions. Oh, right, this should go back to the way it was. Dead players now, or no longer removed, but rather disabled instead. Okay, so what are you saying in the chat? Smell green LP, let's play, I'm guessing. Hey, could you tell us some things about your indie career? How did you start and what happened after you released your first game and so on? Because a friend and I are thinking about developing games during our studies. That's kind of a big question, but it's a fun question. I have been making games for a really long time, like 10, 15, 20 years, but not professionally for more than 5 years, maybe. I guess it also depends on your definition of professionally. And I was making a lot of games for a long time that I didn't make any money from at all. It's only really Capsule, which is my latest game, which is not that late anymore. It's been a year and a half now since release. Oh, or is it? Yeah, something like that. So it's been a while, but that's really the first game I made that made any meaningful amount of money. But I've been living off of that now for the past good while, which is very nice. But I don't think game development isn't really an amazing business to be in. It's more of an art, really. So if you are fortunate enough to have the circumstances where you can make some money off your game, you should consider yourself very lucky, because it's not normally something that happens, and it's not something you can count on in any way, shape, or form, I don't think. So I think if you want to do games beside your studies, you should totally do that. But I don't think too much about making money. If you do, that's going to be a big plus, but don't count on it. Because it takes a while. It takes a while to get good. It takes a long while to get really good at making games. It takes a while to sort of understand what you're doing and figuring out what the market and the real world is like. Like, you got to release a couple of games before you figure that stuff out. You can get lucky, of course, but typically you don't. And I mean, there are people that have really released like 10, 20 games and really wanted them to succeed, but haven't really made it. So don't worry too much about that stuff. Just make games, I would say. Lime Studios is asking if it is Thursday already. And somewhere in the world, I'm pretty sure it is Thursday already. It's not Thursday where I am, but I will be traveling tomorrow, so I can't stream tomorrow. So I was first going to cancel, but then I realized I've been canceling the stream too much lately, so I decided to do it today instead. With short notice, of course, because that's how I roll. But this will go on YouTube, so whoever misses the stream today can watch it in the correct time frame tomorrow, hopefully. So now we have some other kind of issue. I forgot what I was doing. Hey, Kaksuis Nikke. Is that Finnish? Thanks for following. Right, so the players are still not properly disabled. So here we go. If is faded. We also just return for now, because we don't consider the player to be alive right now. That's gonna be the button that will respawn us later. But for now, we can just assume that we are out of control, as it were. And then we got to fix the black hole, because the black hole has to actually let go, instead of just killing whatever it's attached to. So I suppose we can go if the attractee is faded, or if it's not alive, or if it doesn't have a body, release it. So what's happening now is that the black hole is releasing the flare, but then it doesn't care about that when it's looking for things to attach to, so it will immediately attach back to the player. So it's just like every 2 frames, it's detaching, attaching, detaching, attaching. It was not even every 2 frames, because it's attaching, dragging it in, and then detaching. So look at the code for finding something. Here. That's it's a mouthful, that function name. So if the asteroid is fading, if player is faded, continue. I keep grabbing the controller even though I'm running the Flash version. So now this player is still around somewhere, which we can take a look at if we disable the shrinking again. Oh right, I also made it not visible when it's... I guess we'll have to just turn that off too. So we'll do that. And that. Sadly, the compiler doesn't take into account stuff that's compiled after you pressing compile. A shame, really. So now it's interesting. Does it still not let go? It does, but oh, it's the joint that's still around. Of course. So I don't think it ever removes that joint, which is kind of sloppy. So I suppose we'll do this. If joint is not null, go world, remove, no. Destroy joint. It's pretty funny how many issues can be hiding behind other issues. That seems to be working. What else did I comment? The scaling. this guy. So suppose this is a one thing. Changed hiding code for faded players ever so slightly. That is a really tiny commit, but what can you do? I suppose this is just that line. Yeah. Disables button inputs, really, for faded players. And this makes the black hole ignore faded players, release faded players, and makes sure the attraction joint is destroyed once completed. Push. Yes. That's 7 commits. That's not too bad. So now Smell Green is saying, thanks, we're developing games already, but only for learning and fun, and we're not releasing them, but I guess we do that during studies, and if we make money, it would be great, but if not, we'll still have fun doing it, so it'll be okay. Good. I like that attitude. That's probably the best. Wow, it's 6 already. I don't think I can be streaming that much longer. I got stuff to do, places to be, and all that. So did we just do things that were absolutely not on the to-do list? Yep. That's fine though. I kind of want this to-do list to be colored, but that's for another day, I suppose. Let's do that. And we'll probably do that. Thursday stream on a Wednesday. Yeah, I know. Time travel. What can you do? So I think this might be the end of the stream, because there's not that much more we can do that doesn't take a long time, and I don't really have that much more time to spend. Next week, we're going to take a look at the spawning. That's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have to do different shapes for the players, or different like rendering styles, shadings, whatever, something like that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Still no more Sweden news. It's a maze this week, so a good chunk of the people planning is at a maze, which makes it really hard to do planning. But it's happening for sure. We have a date, we have a venue, we have a place, but we're not really quite ready to announce just yet. But you'll know. You don't have to worry about signing up in time as much this year, so you'll be fine. Yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you guys next week. And maybe, just maybe, next week there'll be a playtesting session. We'll see. I hope so, because I I sure need it, but we'll see if I can make that happen. Either way, it's been great streaming with you guys. I'm sorry it ended up this way, but I think a Wednesday stream is better than no stream. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.